Oh, I've got some people here. Let me just, if you, I don't know where the darn chat box is. Let's see if I can find it. Okay. Oh, I've got some people here. Let me just, if you, I don't know where the darn, okay, I'm not gonna be, so hello, Sarah, welcome. And let me double check to see if I'm on the One Great Work Network. I'm not quite sure. Let's see. I am not on the One Great Work Network. Oh, well. All right. Well, we will soon come to find out where I'm streaming. I know I'm on YouTube though. So, welcome everyone. If you are here watching me, I have a couple of things I'd like to talk about today, but first and foremost, if you have any health related questions, about detoxification, reversing ill health, any of those topics, that's kind of what I'd like to do for this hour every week. Hello, Rocky Wright and friends. I like that name. I do like to, address any pressing health concerns someone might have. So feel free to type that in the chat box. Oh, apparently I'm disconnected from OBS. I'll be damned. And it's reconnecting. Well, I'm going to keep YouTube open because I know I'm on YouTube. I am currently reading this book. It is called, I don't know if this is backwards. It's a Rudolf Steiner book on nutrition, believe it or not. And Steiner is someone that I think is quite interesting. And I will get back to the book in just a second. Let me look at some of the questions coming in on YouTube. What are your thoughts on autoimmune disease? Sorry. What are your thoughts on autoimmune disease coming from trauma? Author Gabor Mate touches on this, and I've also noticed some detox specialists talk about this. If your autoimmune conditions come from trauma, goodness gracious, I might have to just turn off notifications for OBS since it's being quite disruptive. But if your autoimmune conditions come from trauma, is diet and herbs going to fix anything? Would love to know your thoughts. Well, I do have some ideas about autoimmune disorders as a whole. And yes, I do think they are associated from trauma in almost all cases, actually. Where I think the biggest source of trauma is, and hopefully this doesn't get me kicked off of the YouTube, but I think it comes from allopathic treatments, especially the injectable kind. This was something that in the class I'm teaching with Dr. Morris right now. And if you're watching the replay of that class, you can sign up for it. I'll put it in the description below this video. If you're watching it live, let me know and I can give you the sign up sheet in the chat box. I don't have it. I can pull it up really quick though. But anyway, I do think it comes from a lot of trauma, especially trauma. Okay, OBS is going to have to go. I don't think I'm on the One Great Work Network because it doesn't appear that I am. Oh, wait, I am on the One Great Work Network. So I'll just leave it as is in case anybody's watching me over there. But anyway, let me pull back up YouTube so I can see the questions. Yeah, I do think it comes from traumas from allopathic treatments. What's interesting, and I think Tom Cowan talks about this as well. Tom Cowan, he's a medical doctor. He's also an anthroposophical medical doctor, meaning that he has aligned with many of the principles of anthroposophy, which is something that Rudolf Steiner is a proponent of, or I should say founder of. But I agree with Tom Cowan when he touched upon the fact that many of these autoimmune diseases are connected to injections that cause more antibodies to develop within our body. So when we look at the whole theory of injections, and again, to not get myself kicked off of the YouTube, and I hope you guys can all hear me. I'm assuming you can. If you guys cannot hear me, let me know in the chat box. I never got confirmation of that. But I muted myself so I wasn't echoing. But anyway, anytime you get an injection that's supposedly meant to protect you against some sort of scary pathogen, they inject something into your bodily fluids, and they like to see evidence that you have protection. And one of the things they look for as evidence that you're protected against a specific pathogen or a specific component of a pathogen. And thank you for those of you that have confirmed that you can hear me. They look for antibodies in your blood, right? And we call that measurement a titer. And the titers, they go by how many antibodies are there, and if you have a certain level, you're good to go. Well, when we look at autoimmune diseases, they are also associated with high antibody levels. Now, yes, these antibodies are specific against, I'm going to have to turn off OBS because this is driving me nuts. I wonder if there's a way to turn off notifications. Hold on. Turn off notifications. Yes, we'll just turn that notification off. And if I'm on One Great Work Network, great. But if you do have lots of antibodies being produced, typically against self antigens, and depending on where the antigen is present and what antibodies are produced against that self antigen, that's how they classify the different autoimmune diseases. So there are actually two different autoimmune types of thyroid disorders. Both Hashimoto's disease and Graves' disease are both autoimmune disorders of the thyroid gland, but they do have different clinical presentations. Obviously, one is hypothyroidism, that's Hashimoto's. So it's actually the antibodies, when they bind to the thyroid gland cells, the follicular cells, they actually result in the destruction of thyroid gland tissue, and therefore less thyroid gland tissue, less thyroid hormone production. With Graves' disease, it's the opposite. It's kind of acting like TSH. It's overstimulating the thyroid gland. So anyway, that's trauma, though. When you're injected with something, I feel like that is a traumatic experience. You are bypassing your first layer of defense, which is your skin. You're injecting something foreign, and your body, goes into a response to protect itself, much like you would if you were being abused physically or sexually or emotionally or mentally. We protect ourselves. Well, so is our body protecting itself against these injections with the formation of antibodies. And so I can very much see a connection between any type of trauma. But I do think, as a society, we are being programmed, brainwashed, if you will, to think that these allopathic treatments, which are quite traumatic, which are quite abusive, oh my goodness.
Medicine, everyone seems to be talking.
I tell you, technology is really pissing me off today. It's very disruptive, very it's disruptive. Sorry about that. But anyway, it's I can definitely see, and Gabor Mate, he's got some very interesting ideas. I really like him as a psychiatrist. It's so interesting how many medical doctors in the field of psychiatry, some of them stay in that field and they continue with their corruption, and they get paid by big pharma to keep promoting these psychotropic drugs, which are incredibly damaging. I know that firsthand, as I have a family member who is quite addicted, who he's been on benzodiazepines for over 20 years, and his mind has turned into mush. He cannot function in society. He is he's living in a living hell, basically. That's my own family member. So I know firsthand, and I almost went down the path of psychiatry until I could see what it was doing to him. And that was part of, when I was in medical school, that among other things that caused me to turn around and be like, okay, I'm getting out of this cult. The cult of the medics, I think someone has coined that term. I'm going to come back and read some of these comments, though, on YouTube. Let's see. I have injections from childhood. I live in the United States. Most of my trauma is from childhood, and even stuff that has happened during adulthood, loss. I'm so sorry about that. There is too much trauma on this planet. It's a very hard planet to live on. I have Hashimoto's symptoms, but all thyroid tests have come back inconclusive. And you know what? I don't have my water here. 1 second. Let me grab my water really quick. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. All right, I'm back. But yes, I need water when I talk a lot. Otherwise, my throat gets a little dry. I'm not teaching this summer, so I'm not talking that much. But I notice when I do start talking, it's like I need something to wet my mouth. Anywho, yes, Rocky Wright writes, I have Hashimoto symptoms. All thyroid tests have come back inconclusive. I've heard lots of people say stay overweight because of trauma. Yeah, I think that is a common mechanism for protection, especially sexual trauma. I think people will do that to make themselves look less attractive so that they're not going to be potentially harmed by someone that might abuse them in that way. Is the class with Dr. Morse already up? So yeah, as far as the trauma is concerned, definitely, I think that the antibody levels could go up for a variety of reasons. And another way to look at this is from that spiritual perspective. We are energetic beings. We are not just physical beings. We are, etheric, astral. We have the ontological level. So all of these levels of who we are as human beings. And if this is something that you're interested in, Rudolf Steiner gets into the fourfold human organism. But I believe it's and don't quote me on this, because as much as I love Steiner, it would take 20 lifetimes for me to actually, understand everything that he writes about. But I think it's in the astral realm where the chakras are most powerful. And, if you take a hit on one of these chakra levels, you can definitely see a manifestation of that trauma at the physical level. So, for example, let's say in your case, thyroid gland, maybe when you were young, a combination of the injections and then, someone saying something like, shut up, be quiet, no one wants to hear you talk, we're not interested in what you have to say. That's shutting down your voice. What's the major energy center and endocrine gland associated with that fifth chakra? That's the thyroid gland. And so a combination of those two things, sometimes it takes the perfect storm, if you will, for an injection to take hold and cause damage to that level of your 7 chakras. So yeah, and as far as the class from Dr. Morse, it is currently being held live. We're currently meeting Mondays and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sorry, my nose itches. Again, the cat hair. Sometimes my cat lays where I'm sitting, and so I get this cat hair going all over the place. But yeah, we meet Mondays and Wednesdays. We are currently talking about blood vessels, but we're this close to getting to the lymphatic system. We might actually start our discussion on the lymphatic system on Monday if we get through the rest of blood vessels. But our discussion of blood vessels has been very interesting, and it's nice because it's not just me talking as a college professor. It's Dr. Morse chiming in quite a bit. And Dr. Morse, those of you that know him, he has 50 years of clinical experience helping people reverse ill health. He is my personal mentor. It's his teachings that I align with when I work with my clients, either in a one-on-one setting or in a very close to being launched group setting. My group program is pretty much ready to go, but I will be starting that soon. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know, either one-on-one or group coaching. I'm really doing my best trying to detach from college level teaching. I would only like to teach with Dr. Morse, honestly, if I had to choose, because obviously I am in 100% disagreement with allopathic cult medicine as a whole. So anyway, but yeah, if you want that, I can try to find that link if you'd like to sign up for the live class. I think the live class it's very cheap. I'm only asking, a small amount of money so that I can, host this and pay for, the fee Zoom charges when I do a live webinar with, as many students that want to join. Now, if you want to get credit for the course that Dr. Morse and I are providing, then that credit will go towards a doctoral program. So if this is like a career that you're interested in and you are wanting to get into this career, which I will tell you, with as many people that reach out to me for help, and I can't help everybody, there is a need for healers, for people that can provide real remedy for people that are struggling with their health. And that's why I'm starting a group program so I can see more people. When I work one-on-one, I can only see one person at a time, which is great for that one person, but it's not helping all of the other people. So, but yeah, we do need people to help. I might even, as if my online business, grows a little bit, I might need help too. So that's something that might be coming forth as well. I might be, hiring people to work in the group coaching program after they go through the training. And then it might be also something I might offer as kind of like an internship. So once you learn how to work in this field, you can start working with real clients, kind of like medical doctors do in medical school. But anywho, it's all growing because unfortunately there is a need. And people know that if they go the path of the white coat, oftentimes not only do they not find remedy, but they actually get worse because of side effects and more toxicity being added to their body, dangerous surgeries. There is a way for the body to heal without all of that nonsense. Okay, there's a lot of people talking now. So let me go back to where Rocky Wright left off. But yeah, Rocky Wright, you might want to look at other kind of thyroid tests if you're thinking you have a thyroid hormone disorder. I mean, sometimes they only look at TSH, but on the other hand, when I work with clients, and they have a lot of thyroid gland symptoms like low thyroid, I ask questions and I take, a whole overview when I look at someone's health. Not only am I, getting to know what their symptoms are, what they're feeling like. I also look at the iris. And so the iris is, a map of the entire human body. Every organ of the human body is mapped on the iris. And I can look at the iris and kind of determine, is there a genetic weakness in the thyroid gland? Is there congestion? You can see if there's interstitial congestion in that organ. And that too will kind of back up some of the clinical symptoms you're experiencing. And there are things you can do to help cleanse and heal the thyroid gland. I've told this story because it was quite a remarkable story from a client I had not too long ago, maybe a year or two ago. But he was developing hyperthyroidism, Graves' disease. And the treatment was either removal of the thyroid gland or radioactive iodine to kill the thyroid gland, and neither of those options were appealing to him. So I put him on a pretty strict protocol, and he healed his thyroid gland within a month. So, there are ways to go about healing without going the route of toxicity and cutting your body open and removing things. All right, let's see. So I answered that. So what would your take on genetic conditions? So Sarah, with genetic conditions, I do think some genetic conditions, if you're born with a gene, first and foremost, it doesn't always mean that you're going to express that gene. Okay. So, we used to think that the gene was everything. So if you had a gene, you definitely were going to have whatever that gene codes for. So genes, those are, strands of our segments of our DNA that are then transcribed and translated into proteins. And proteins are our physical expression. So whether or not a protein is working correctly, right? So if you have a healthy gene, you have good proteins. If you have an unhealthy gene, then that protein's not doing something correct. And so I've seen people with certain genetic diseases have strengthening of the organs connected to that genetic disorder. So I do believe there's always hope to turn things around and strengthen an organ that might be malperforming, might be not functioning optimally. I always think that it's always best to do whatever you can to kind of pull yourself into a healthier state. And for some people, it is a struggle. I mean, some people do have, karmically a lot to get through to come out of that. I do believe that there is some karma associated with, certain genetic conditions. The genetics is also something you can see, though, on the iris, too. Usually in an iridology analysis, the genetic weaknesses are seen as kind of darker areas, what we call lacunae, or like expanded openings in the fibers of the iris, where those fibers are a little bit weaker. So I think, there is, with genetics aside, there are ways to turn around, genetic disorders. And it's always, at least trying to do that going forward as much as possible. Bruce Lipton talks about, he's a cell biologist, and I was really into his works, when they first came out, like in the early 2000s. And I found it very interesting how he looked at, the transcription factors and those things that turn genes on and off as being more important than the gene itself. And what are these transcription factors that turn genes on and off? Well, they're signals from our environment. There are thoughts, there are diet. So there is, even in the scientific realm, they're looking at these factors that turn genes on and off. So hopefully that helps to some extent. Mr. Garganation, I don't know if I said that correctly. Meat and dairy is trauma. I agree with that. Yeah. And it's more traumatic, obviously, for the animals. I mean, they're the ones whose lives are being harmed by those foods. Nicola, I mean, the new class, I think you said it will be on the lymphatic system. Yes, the lymphatic system course is currently being held live. We have not started talking about the lymphatic system. I'm coupling it with the blood vessels. So these lectures that I'm giving in a live format with Dr. Morse, they will be part of a bigger course called Human Anatomy and Physiology Part 2, which overall will cover the cardiovascular system and the lymphatic system. And we have not yet started talking about the lymphatic system. And so I'm offering these courses to the general public. You don't have to be part of the doctoral program to take them. They're just kind of, if you're just generally interested and you want to attend. We do meet Mondays and Wednesdays. These are not being recorded for the general public. There will be no tests over these courses, but if you do want that, if you want the recordings, if you want the assessments, the notes, the ancillary material, also the ability to schedule office hours with me, then you can sign up for the full course through Dr. Morse's website. His school's website is the International School of the Healing Arts. So that's coming up. So if you want that live interaction, which I think is invaluable, I mean, for, the price I'm charging, which is basically to keep the Zoom active, it's less than $50 and you're getting like 10 classes, live classes with Dr. Morse there. So that's, I think that's a pretty good deal. And you get, right now it's a pretty small class. I think like every class we've had so far, and there's only been a couple of them, we've had less than 10 people show up. And so you get a lot of one-on-one committed time with Dr. Morse. So you get an hour of lecture and then an hour, sometimes more than an hour after the lecture is over, of Q&A, where you can ask questions on the course material, or if you have another question. One of my clients actually signed up for it just because she wanted to ask Dr. Morse some questions, and she's not been attending most of the classes, but she at least got one of her questions asked that she wanted to ask him. So, it might be worth it for that, if anything. So if you're interested, I can probably pull it up really quick. Let's see if I have that link available. I don't know if I have the link available. If you want to sign up for the class. Let's see. I can put the link though in the chat box if I can find it. I might not be able to find it though. I know where I can find it. I can find it in my email. So let me just look that up really quick. Sent and put. Sorry, folks. Since I had people asking about the class, I want to make sure for those of you that wanted to maybe sign up for it, give you that option. I don't know if I can find it though. I also don't like, okay, here it is. I found the link. So if you want to take the current live class, you'll see a link. It's like shoutout.wix. That's where you can sign up for it. And then you'll register. So you'll register through Zoom, and then they will give you the Zoom link that's unique for you to join the classes. They are Monday and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I wanted to make sure you knew the time in case, the time wasn't going to work for you, because these are not recorded. If you want the recordings, you can take the full course when it's up. So after each lecture, I edit, the lecture videos, and then I send everything that plus the Q&A over to the team at Dr. Morse's school, and they post it onto their website. And it's part of the doctoral program, which we did announce that, by the way, for those of you wanting to, take a serious look at making this part of what you do as your, vocation, as your, I don't like calling it a career, but your passion in life. There are people I talk to that this is what they want to do. They want to help people. And so, if you're passionate about helping to reduce suffering on this planet, and it saddens you when you see friends and family get harmed by various treatments, and there's a better way. Some people just need, better guidance, a nice, compassionate person to talk to them and offer them the advice and the comfort of knowing that they don't have to go down just one path for healing. There are options available, right? So, that's something you can get into. So Nicola took the previous ones. Awesome. So you were in the cell biology course, and I offered a lot of the A&P part 1 does include 4 classes in one. So it's kind of like the first semester, if you will. and it includes the intro to the human body. It includes electrical chemistry, cell biology, and histology. So that's all wrapped up into anatomy and physiology part 1. And that is technically a prerequisite. So if you are going to the doctoral program, that's the first course you want to take. And then after that, you can take the other courses. Part 2, again, that will be posted when we wrap up this current live presentation that I'm giving with Dr. Morse. The third class, I already know what it's going to be. After we wrap up the cardiovascular system and the lymphatic system, the third class is going to cover the nervous system and the endocrine glands. So the major endocrine glands, which there was a question about that with the trauma and the energy centers, because each major endocrine gland is associated with a chakra, right? With the exception of the heart, but the heart does act as a hormone secreting gland. It does secrete the hormone atrial natriuretic factor, or atrial natriuretic peptide, which is the only hormone, by the way, that lowers blood pressure, but the heart does release that. And it's the organ that acts as your fourth chakra, your center of love. I think it's an energy center. But anyway, that's going to be class number 3. And when class number 3 is delivered, it won't be twice a week. Unfortunately, I am back at my brick and mortar institution. I do teach full-time as a college professor. And although I took off the summer, I am going to be back in the fall. So I'll have to determine when the next live class, what day it will be offered, but more than likely, we will only meet either once a week or once every other week. Sometimes I need to manipulate the schedule because, with grading and everything, sometimes I can't do every week, unfortunately. So, but I will announce that later down the road. Mr. Garganation, I'm probably butchering that name, is writing physical, astral, mental, causal, etheric. Yes, so we do have different levels of who we are as humans. And that's why I like, Steiner quite a bit, because he takes into consideration these different levels, which is why I brought this book with me in case we were going to talk about it. This is writings of and speeches Rudolf Steiner has given on the topic of nutrition. It's quite interesting, this man, very interesting. When I read his works, I have to keep into consideration he was writing these things in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and a lot of what we know about, the material aspects of nutrition, I think weren't known as of his time. But at the same time, what he says, because he is very clairvoyant and has a knowing about him, the information, I think, is nonetheless very applicable. Anywho, Nicola writes, how did I miss that? Can I still sign up? Yeah, the link is down below. And I'm sorry if I'm a little delayed getting to your questions, but look at my post. I just posted the sign up. I gave it to Dr. Morse's team to send to everyone. And I thought if you had taken my previous courses, I thought I sent an email to everybody that's taken a class with me before. But in case you didn't get it, sometimes things go to your junk mail. So just check there. But, nonetheless, I just posted the links. So you can definitely sign up still. Let's see. Rocky Wright writes, if you're anemic, low on vitamin D, iodine, or B12, is there ever a time you recommend supplementing? Will your body eventually balance it? I know Dr. Morse is anti-supplement, but I'm torn. Well, I think with where Dr. Morse is coming from, a healthy body is a body that can obtain these nutrients from natural sources. So obviously getting vitamin D, the best way is with sun exposure. So when the sun hits our skin, there's a chemical reaction that takes place. And, for you to produce healthy vitamin D, you not only need healthy skin, but you need a healthy liver and you need healthy kidneys. And you need healthy amount of parathyroid hormone. So those 4 things all together are needed for adequate vitamin D production. And unfortunately, as every generation comes about on this planet, it seems like each generation is weaker and more ill than the one before, because of just the nature of toxicity that, and allopathic treatments that are being pushed upon our human bodies. So, I think that if there's a need for something, it's not the end of all ends to supplement with it. I'm not opposed to supplementation if it's needed. And for some people, it can help out, right? But while you're supplementing, strengthen the organs involved that would help you extract that nutrient more easily in a natural way, because that truly is the best way to live, is without having to buy supplements, right? I always think of, a water world scenario where all of the places that sell these supplements, they're closed down for whatever reason. You can't get to them. Well, what are you going to do then, right? So we need to find ways to work with nature and strengthen our own natural body so that we don't have to take supplements. And that's really kind of where Dr. Morse is coming from. What can we do to help strengthen the body so we can, get these things naturally? B12, we can get from gut bacteria. And also, some B12 is in the bacteria that reside on the roots of plants that we eat. So, and then iodine, some sea vegetables aren't that bad as sources of iodine. You just want to be careful with sea vegetables because sometimes where they're sourced from, they can have contaminants. So it's good to get them from good sources, if that's something you want to do. If you want to take like a natural source like kelp or something like that, as opposed to just taking iodine isolated. Those are important nutrients. But again, sometimes it's not just a single nutrient too that's missing. I mean, we don't know everything about the foods we're eating and what we're taking in as nutrition. So, sometimes you think you're low on something and it's actually something else, right? So that's another reason why strengthening the organs and the tissues that help you extract these nutrients from whatever way they're coming in, whether it's from the sun or from food, that's the best way to kind of go about, making sure you're healthy. Raw foods is always better than supplements. I agree with that. I mean, it's always better to get things from nature when you have a choice. Rocky Wright writes, I want to become a healer. I just have some healing to do. I'm interested in your courses. Well, honestly, I think the people that have healing to do make the best healers, because you understand what it's like for the illness you have to, take over your ability to exist on this planet. And that develops empathy within you, and you become more compassionate of a healer. And, sharing your own story can help others relate to you more easily too. So, I always think, if you're trying to heal yourself, it never hurts to take, to learn about this stuff. Whether you take a single course or you just read. Dr. Morse and I, in addition to, putting these classes out, we're also writing some books together. He talked about that at the last class we had on Wednesday. Dr. Morse has like 10 books he started writing over the years, and he just told me that he wants to finish these books up. He's like, I need to get this material out there. We are going to actually make some of these books video books. So there will be like a physical book. I'm a big fan of physical books because I don't like to be connected to technology. I just would rather read. If you can find me anywhere, if I have free time, I'm sitting somewhere with like 3 dogs around me and a cat, and I'm just reading and enjoying my time to leisurely go through the material, as opposed to have someone verbally tell me or hear it. So, but sometimes video courses are fun, and I enjoy the interaction. And I don't know if this is going to come to fruition, but I kind of put a little idea in Dr. Morse's ear about this, because if things get crazy with the college I teach at and I can't teach there anymore, maybe I'll be back down in Florida. Maybe we can start delivering live classes like Dr. Morse used to, in a live format. And even if we only deliver them a couple of times a year, people can, commune and, gather and enjoy each other's company. I really find that there is a lot of benefit to having people come together in that way. We've been so isolated since the pandemic, and it's kind of sad that we can't connect as much as we want to. I know I'm missing out on that, connecting with like-minded individuals. It's challenging, teaching at a college where there's many intellectual individuals. They're very intellectual. They know a lot, but are they intelligent? And if you guys know anything about Mark Passio, he defines intelligence as the balance between, the mind and the heart. Intellectual is the mind, and then the gens, Gence, that's the generative. That's, the compassion. And so that's the true gnosis, intelligence. And you don't see that a lot in, the modern scientific types of communities. There's no compassion. There's no connection. All right. Anywho, where am I? The healers on Instagram seemed all booked up. The wellness niche is huge right now. Yeah, I think it is, honestly. I think a lot of people, I need to start advertising. That's my bad thing. People find me, so I guess I haven't felt the need to advertise. But somebody did mention, check out Facebook advertising to see if you can let people know more about you. And I started taking that into consideration simply because, if I do want to break free from college teaching, I need to create full-time income so that I can live on this planet. Unfortunately, that's how the world works. And so maybe, so I did run like a priming ad just to see. And a lot of people do see your work if you pay for Facebook. And I don't like Facebook, to be honest with you. But anywho, I might get into advertisement. Who knows? Let's see. I've had an ultrasound, the ink test. I've done all tests the medical doctors have done for thyroid. I had an iridologist that studied under Dr. Morse, but I'm not sure the photo was good enough because the thyroid did not show. I don't go to regular medical doctors anymore. Yeah, I don't, sometimes, yeah, iris photos, since I, work one-on-one with clients, I share with them a video on how to take a really good iris photo, because sometimes, if it's not good, it's really hard to see the details, especially if you have darker eyes. Sarah has active cystic fibrosis. I'm sorry, Sarah. And I think I remember you saying that before. Just, send that. Strengthening the lungs would be a good idea, right? So with cystic fibrosis, anything you can do to help with mucus expulsion. One thing I would recommend, Dr. Morse sells a tea called 3-lung tea. And, if you do have any issues with the mucus getting trapped, like in the smaller branches of the lungs, the bronchioles, or even the bronchi, something that will help with expectoration would be beneficial. And, many herbs, do have healing properties too for those tissues. But there are other things, that would be beneficial too. So trying anything you can would be what I would recommend. And Nicola is signing up for the class now. Wonderful. I have light yellow in parts of the eye. I have blue eyes. I believe yellow is sulfur. Yeah, sulfur usually shows as kind of like an orange or yellowish color. What does sulfur cause, and is it relatively easy to detox? Well, sulfur comes mostly from allopathic treatments like medications, things like that. Many antibiotics contain the type of sulfur within them that can deposit in various organs and tissues. And then that ends up, depositing and being seen as kind of an orangish yellow color in the iris. And a lot of times you see it like right around the pupil, which is the hole in the center of the iris. And that orange discoloration could, indicate that there's malabsorption, or it could cause, weakening of the bowel wall. Sulfur as a whole hardens tissues, and it makes the tissue less pliable. And a hardened tissue, a sclerotic tissue, doesn't function as well as a tissue that's soft and pliable. So like any toxin that's stuck in your tissue spaces, detoxification is the path of getting that out. And I have seen, in the years I've been working as a naturopath, the iris color starting to change. So, there's only in iridology, only two true iris colors. There's a blue eye and a brown eye. Any shade other than those two are different stages of lymphatic congestion. And there's different types of lymphatic congestion. So you can have a lot of white, which is kind of usually acute types of mucus stagnation, making the iris, if you have blue eyes, making it look kind of gray in color. Then it could, progress to darker colors depending on the how chronic the issue is. All right. I'm excited about the books. Yeah, I'm excited about writing them. I could do this stuff all day long. I think my mom gets worried about me because I don't really leave my house much, because all I'm doing is working with clients and working on the courses with Dr. Morris and getting these books ready. So it's fun stuff. This is what I would do regardless. Anywho, let's see. Social media is really powerful for business. You can get far even without advertising. Yeah, I do have a Facebook group. So, if you want to join, I'll put it in the comments. If you want to join my Facebook group, that's going to be associated with my business. Let's see if I can find the link for that. Let's see if I can find that link. Nope, that's not it. But you can sign up for that my Facebook group, and that way, if you do want to go and work with me, like either one-on-one or in a group setting, you definitely can do that. So let's see where I put that Facebook group. I don't even know where I put it. It's a free group, so there is, it's free to join. And when you join, as a special gift, if you want it, I can send you a free guide on healing. Let's see. I had it, the link here somewhere. Where is it? Here it is. Sorry, folks. So yes, I posted my my Facebook group if you want to join. It's called Detox Support for the Self Healer. And I do post these live Q&A sessions that I give. I put copies of those recordings in that Facebook group, and I also make other announcements, like announcements about my classes. I also do that on my normal Facebook page and my business pages too. So all of those you can sign up for, just so that you don't miss out on anything. And there's no payment involved, so whatever benefit you get out of that, I hope you can get some benefit out of it. A link for the tea. Yeah, the tea is called Heal All Tea, or not Heal All Tea, it's called 3 Lung Tea. Let's see if I can find it. It's really just a combination, and Sarah, I'm putting the link to the tea. It's just from Dr. Morris's website. But it's just a mix of 3 different herbs. It's fenugreek, mullein, and pleurisy, and they're just great herbs. They're also lymphatically cleansing too, because a lot of times with cystic fibrosis, since there's just a lot of mucus accumulation, things get stuck in those tubes, and it helps to kind of not only help the mucus come out, but it's lymphatically cleansing those tissues as well, which help the lungs detoxify more easily overall, interstitially and through the bronchioles. So it's kind of a win-win on both sides. And another thing you can do with the Heal All, hold on, never mind. I gave you the Heal All tea. I meant to give you the 3 lung tea. It was the wrong darn one. Hold on a second. Let me just pull up Dr. Morse's website. I'm not on his website directly. I need to go in there correctly. So that link I just posted, don't use that one. Although Heal All tea is definitely a great, why is it asking me to log in? Heal All tea is definitely a great, did they change the website? What's going on here? Let me do this again. Holy cow. I can't do this stuff on the fly. Let's see. 3 lung tea. There we go. Okay. So Sarah, this is 3 lung tea. I will post it again. The last one was for Heal All tea, which is a great tea. It's just not the one I would specifically recommend for the lungs. But with 3 lung tea, you can do something called herbal inhaling. So after you make the tea, what you do is you boil a couple of cups of water, and then you add the herbs, with the heat off, because I always think it's better to let the herbs steep in there without direct heat. The roots, if it had roots in there, you could, do it while the heat's on, but turn the heat off, let it steep for about 10 minutes covered. And then when it's done, take the lid off and then get a towel and lean over and deeply inhale the vapors coming from that pot. And do that every morning, and then, drink the tea throughout the day. So have like a cup in the morning and a couple of hours later. It's a really great way to clean and cleanse and detoxify your lung tissue. So if you're actively dealing with cystic fibrosis, that's a great way to support the lungs. And, doing other things to support your whole body, and detoxification and healing would be definitely what I would recommend. Let's see. Are there benefits? You didn't get the free guide. So Rocky, did you join my Facebook group? There were some questions that were asked when you joined the Facebook group. I asked, if you would like to, receive this free guide. And if people say yes, I usually send it right away. But if I did not, you can send me a message in Facebook, or you can email me, and I can definitely send you that free guide so that you have that. Let's see. Oops, I'm missing a few things. Instagram and TikTok are better than Facebook, but you have to be active. Yeah, I mean, Instagram is connected to Facebook. So right now I have my Facebook business page connected to Instagram, but I'm never over there. So I don't know what the hell's going on with Instagram. And TikTok, I can't do everything. And honestly, I don't want to be on TikTok. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm old, or from an older generation, if you will. Let's see. Are there benefits to water fasting 1 day a week? I heard it brings down a lot of inflammation. Also, is fasting okay if you have adrenal or blood sugar issues? I do think fasting is a great way to help expedite healing. In fact, in my group program, one of the things I get into, or will be getting into when I start running the group, when I start advertising it. But I did put in sections on how to work up 2 different types of fasts. So we get into a little bit of intermittent fasting, and then maybe some more extended fasting, and then juice cleansing, smoothie cleansing, things like that. So it's just basically a group program to help support you through these types of modalities to help the body cleanse more easily. But anytime you can take a break, especially a digestive break, when your digestive system, which energetically is quite expensive, when it's constantly having to break down foods. So when you're exocrine glands are constantly secreting enzymes, and then the smooth muscle in your digestive tract is constantly churning to move that. That takes a lot of energy from the body, and energy that could be used for other activities like detoxification, like regeneration. So taking a break from digestion is definitely helpful. If you have like adrenal issues or blood sugar issues, I mean, obviously you want to strengthen the organs that would be responsible for that. So strengthen the adrenal glands. One of the things I do when I work with clients, whether it's in a one-on-one or a group setting, is I have a questionnaire that I give to everyone, and I can kind of see, are there adrenal issues? And if there are adrenal issues, there are ways we can strengthen the adrenal glands, either with herbs or even with glandulars. And by strengthening the adrenal glands, you start to get a little bit of energy back. And you also strengthen your kidneys as well, because the adrenals release hormones that target the kidneys, helping them work better. And yeah, so you can, fasting can help. It might, one thing with cleansing and fasting, especially if you have an adrenal weakness, normally with any cleansing, your blood pressure comes down. And one of the things, Dr. Morse talks about is how the blood pressure measurement is connected to the adrenal glands and the kidneys. So the top number, your systolic pressure, he connects that with the adrenal glands. And then the bottom number, the diastolic pressure, he connects that to the kidneys. And so when you're cleansing, let's say you have a lot of congestion in your adrenal glands and the adrenal glands are being cleansed, the pressure might come down. So you might get a further drop in blood pressure. So, it's just one thing to, that's why it's good to get support from a detoxification specialist or somebody while you're going through a cleanse, so that you know what to expect. Because I know when I went through my own cleansing, starting back in like 2010, even though I did a 26-day water fast when I was in medical school in the 1990s, when I was doing an internship with Dr. Furman, I kind of got out of it for a while, and then I came back to it then when I realized that my own health was suffering. And so I embarked upon a lot of cleansing. And I remember, I was in my 30s at the time, and it hit me hard. And there were days where I just could not move because I was removing so much congestion out of my body. But at the same time, I was learning about this, right? And this is when I kind of around the time I met Dr. Morse. And so I kind of knew what to expect so that it wasn't so scary. Because when you truly heal the body, it's not like pharmaceuticals where they turn off mechanisms and they make the pain go away, but they're not healing anything. A true naturopathic type of program to heal the body, it can be brutal. I mean, you're pulling congestion out into the channels of elimination, getting it all out there. And you need to be able to know kind of what to expect and also plan for it accordingly. Some people, depending on, their career and their job, when I'm, writing up a protocol for them, I have to take that into consideration. Are we going to go for the hardcore cleanse like the guy that I worked with last year that within 30 days healed his thyroid gland? I mean, he went hardcore, and it was nice because he was during the pandemic. Actually, maybe this was during 2020, now that I think about it. Yeah, because I remember he told me he was working remotely so he could stay at home. And I'm like, well, how hard do you want to go? And he's like, well, it's just me here by myself, so I'll go as hard as I need to. I want to heal my thyroid gland. And he did it. I mean, I can offer, the recommendations of what to do, but he's the one that did it, and I was really proud that he was able to heal his thyroid gland. So that was pretty awesome. Anyway, but yeah, I think fasting 1 day a week is a great thing. I think some people practice that. Or just doing like intermittent fasting. I think it's a good to like have a window of eating. Like personally, I mean, you don't have to do what I do, but I stop eating at 5 p.m. So after 5, I'm just like done. And that way I don't have to worry about the kitchen. And then I don't eat until the next day. And sometimes I don't get to eating until about 12. It just depends how busy I am in the morning. If I'm not that busy, then I'll usually have a smoothie or some fruit first thing. But yeah. Let's see. Yes, they changed all of the products from Dr. Morris. Yeah, he had a company buy his herbal store, and I think they did do an overhaul on all of the packaging. So, but it's, it's usually, I think it's still the same herbal combinations that Dr. Morris came up with. Let's see. Yeah, Rocky, so you joined the Facebook group months ago. Just send me an email or message me in Facebook, and I will definitely give you that free guide. I'm sorry that you did not get that, or email me. Peter's here. Hello, Peter. It took me years to completely change my eyes to blue. That is awesome. Mono apple fasting for a few months with GI Broom each evening was the most powerful technique. I'd post a comparison pic if I knew how to. That is awesome. And Peter, you're in the class, aren't you? If I'm not mistaken. So I think that's cool that you did that. I mean, you don't have to tell me if you're in the class. I can't remember. I know there's a Peter in the class. It could be you. But that is completely awesome. GI Broom, for the person that asked me earlier about the sulfur, that's what I would use. GI Broom is incredibly helpful in pulling a lot of the sulfur out of the intestinal lining. That's where it tends to accumulate from, sulfur type products, a lot of them coming from, again, allopathic drugs. And it just kind of gets stuck in the lining of the intestinal tract, interfering with absorption. And then you see kind of this orange ring around the pupil. We call that the stomach ring. And it can be like completely orange and causing sclerosis and tightening and malabsorption of that intestinal tract. But as you pull that out, you see lightening of the iris color. And that's why, whenever you go on a really healthy diet, people always say, oh, your eyes look so bright. It's because you're cleansing. It's because you're pulling all of that congestion out of your body, and your iris is evidence of that. And it's lightening up. So that's kind of cool. And I think, Peter, that's awesome. And I've heard people doing mono apple fasting. I think that, or feasting, I like that better. I think that's great. There was a young lady, her name is Sarah Erica. She did a couple of interviews with Jillian Berry, for those of you that, well, I guess if you're here, you're on YouTube. Jillian Berry, she's a young lady or a woman that does interviews with people that do kind of raw foods and juicing and all of that jazz. And she did 2 different interviews that I found to be quite interesting, of this young lady. Her name is Sarah Erica. I would love to interview her and perhaps, share her story as well. But she was really, really sick, and she had an illness, but it was it took her body offline when she got vaccinated. I didn't want to say that word. When she got damn. As much as I try to, not say forbidden words, when she got something done to her, I hope this doesn't get me kicked off YouTube. So if I'm kicked off YouTube, just so y'all know, I will do the live stream through Facebook next week, just letting you know, because I have a couple of strikes against me already. So I'm trying to be, in this communist Marxist world that we live in, trying to be good. But anyway, this young lady, she completely healed herself. She did a full year of juicing. And what I found to be incredibly remarkable about her story is that most of her juices were fruit juices. You don't see that a lot in the juicing community. A lot of them are pushing the green juices. A lot of people want to do, juicing for weight loss, and they're like, oh, do more green juices because they'll help you lose weight. I think, there's a place for the green juices, right? And I actually recommend green juices for certain clients, because the fruit juices and the fruits as a whole are very aggressive. They're going to cleanse you faster and more powerfully. I think the fruit is at the pinnacle. There is a levels of detoxification chart that Dr. Morris shares, and I have that chart, and I sometimes share it with clients. But it puts water fasting at the pinnacle. Most people have a hard time doing water fasting. But then, the mono fruit juicing fasting is then the next level, and then, mono fruits after that. And apples are incredibly healing. I think, I love apples. I'm trying to grow some apple trees in my backyard, but I don't know. I need to learn more about gardening and growing trees as a whole. I'm not that good. I would die if I had to do that I would die of starvation. Now, maybe I wouldn't die of starvation. I'd probably figure out how to get energy from the sun or something. Anywho, that's really cool, Peter, about the mono apple fasting and the GI Broom combination. I will say, if you do GI Broom, make sure you're having daily bowel movements. Do not take GI Broom if you are constipated, because it pulls a lot out of your intestinal tract to cleanse it, but you need to evacuate it. You need to, dump it out into the toilet, because if you don't evacuate it, you end up reabsorbing it, and then it makes you feel really sick. And I've experienced that firsthand, not using GI Broom, but using something similar from Health Force Nutritionals. This is before I knew of Dr. Morse. This was like back in 2010. I can't remember the name of the product. I think it was called intestinal something formula, but it was a pretty good formula. I think Health Force Nutritionals has good formulas, but I was probably constipated and it made me incredibly ill. So make sure you're having daily bowel movements. I would recommend taking something like GI Renew, which, Dr. Morse has 5 different formulas or 6 formulas, depending on the state of constipation, and, work your way up to having the daily bowel movements. And once you've had like a week or 2 of daily bowel movements, then add the GI Broom. And when you take the GI Broom, you need to take it away from anything else, because it just pulls into it anything that's in the intestinal tract. So if you're on medication, take the medication 2 hours away, or your supplements or your herbs 2 hours away. Do you have openings for new clients right now? My schedule is available. Right now, I'm using my old website because I haven't figured out how to do scheduling one-on-one with my new website. So, but yeah, I do have openings, but I think I might be booked out until August, if I'm not mistaken. I know right now I'm only seeing clients one-on-one on Saturdays, because I'm doing a lot of different things. I only see clients on Saturdays, and I know I have a client tomorrow. I have a client the following Saturday. So maybe in like early August, I should have some availability for sure. But yeah, I do see clients, and I enjoy doing that. Peter's in the class. You sent my eye to my email. Thank you. I can share that really quick. I need to drink more water. Let's see. I'm checking my email right now. Let me see if it's there. Oh, there it is. Okay. I can share this if you'd like me to. Wow, that's pretty remarkable. Holy cow, is that remarkable? That is a pretty... So yeah, I gotta share this with the world. Let's see how I can do this. Where are you? I don't know. Can y'all see that? Can you see Peter's iris photos? The brown to the blue. That is amazing. I mean, you can tell that it's the same iris. You can see the collarette or the autonomic nerve sheath. The lacunae look the same. Holy cow, that's amazing. Good job. That is remarkable. I mean, I'm always amazed, even though I've been doing this for many years, I am always amazed by what people can do health-wise to heal themselves. I mean, never give up on yourself. I mean, I think if you have an illness, it's, you know, it's the shadow work that you have to do to heal. Hold on, let me stop sharing my screen for a second. Stop share. Okay. It is the true shadow work. And for those of you in the Mark Passio world, you know, he's talked about shadow work quite a bit. That's why I like the Mark Passio people, the One Great Work Network people, because it's a lot about, you know, our time on this planet. What are we meant to do? What's our incarnation, our life's work, our passion? What are we meant to give back? And a lot of what we need to give back is a result of, you know, what we need to push through, what we need to heal ourselves. And I think every single individual on this planet has something to heal. None of us come here perfect. So by healing ourselves, we can heal the world, honestly. Let's see. It took me, so coming back to Peter, it took me, and Peter was the person that shared the iris photos, which are amazing. It took me years to completely change my eyes to blue, mono apple feasting for a few months. Oh, you already wrote that. Sorry. Or did you write that? And I'm just repeating it. I can't remember where I left off in the chat. Let's see. Rocky Wright writes, can you use kidney tea instead of tinctures? Yeah, you can definitely use tea instead of tinctures. You know, the alcohol tinctures of everything, I think, are the most powerful, because alcohol does a really good job extracting the medicinal properties of the herbs. But, you know, different herbs are extracted by other types of media a little bit better. So sometimes it does depend on the specific herb. But, you know, teas, I think, are the most economical, but they could still be incredibly powerful. So you can get like loose leaf herbs at a lot of different places. I like mountain rose herbs. That's usually where I go for loose leaf herbs. But yeah, the teas are great. So whatever you can do, you know, find some herbs, get a good herb book, and find about how these herbs work, because many of the herbs that are on this planet, they are meant for our medicine. You know, they're placed upon this earth to help us during our human experience. And, you know, unfortunately, as time has progressed, we've lost that connect, or some people have lost. We used to have a very strong connection with, you know, the natural world. And, you know, even people like Steiner, I think he still had that connection, and he was able to intuitively know certain things about the natural world. But, you know, you have your shamans, and they know about like what plant heals what. So it's, you know, but there are, you know, we've passed down this knowledge through the years, and, you know, that's what many of these herb books, I like herb books that tell a story where they kind of, you know, share various ways in which the herbs have been used. And honestly, I would say of everybody that I've learned from, as far as herbs are concerned, I really like Dr. Christopher. Dr. Christopher has a school that you can take courses in. I started it during a pretty chaotic time in my life, and I never finished it, but that is something on my to-do list that I want to get back into, become a master herbalist through Dr. Christopher's school, just because I find it fun to learn about these things. And but Dr. Christopher has free resources on the internet. Herbal Legacy is a free resource where you can search any herb, and he will tell you he'll give you lots of references, how he has used those herbs in various types of scenarios. So it's a great for people that are in the healing arts, to kind of see how these herbs have been used. I've shared some of them. You know, if you look up my YouTube videos, I think I have a couple of videos where I talk about Dr. Christopher. I mentioned like cayenne pepper, how he's used that, other herbs that he's, a big fan of, marshmallow root, things like that. Let's see. My blood pressure, even on a healthy vegan diet, although some cooked, my blood pressure runs a bit high to normal, which is so odd to me. Yeah, there's just some congestion in the kidneys. So definitely try taking a break from eating, doing a lot of kind of cleansing juices could be helpful. Let's see. I saw Sarah's interview. It was amazing. Fully Raw Christina says she completely changed her eyes from dark brown to green. People are always trying to debunk it online. I think what Peter showed us is a way to prove that this happens. And I know it happens. I mean, I've seen it in, working with people. I mean, when I worked down in Dr. Morris's clinic, I saw it. He showed me photos of it happening. Let's see. Is having only one bowel movement a day enough? I hardly ever have 2 or 3. You want to have at least one a day to do the GI broom. At least one. More would be great, but if at least one. Let's see. All right, I have Heal All and kidney teas. I also have a ton of tinctures. The taste of the tinctures, the alcohol is so bad. I've tried using them for years. Well, you know what? I always put mine in, because I don't like the alcohol either. I just add it to juice or smoothie. So usually I'll just make a, like I drink a smoothie in the morning because I just don't have a lot of time with my juicer. And the blender is a lot easier to clean. And I also don't have time to eat a huge, like a big green salad. So I make green smoothies a lot of days. Sometimes I just have fruit smoothies. It just depends. But I'll just, put a little bit to the side, add my herbs to it and drink it that way. Cause yeah, I don't like the alcohol either. My before pick was when someone first told me that they were turning blue, which is what led me to Dr. Morris and fruit feasting. Wish I'd taken pics earlier. I know. You know, it's interesting. I took some pictures of my own irises. When I first started working with Dr. Morse in like 2010, 2011. And then in 2015, I fell rock climbing. And I had my iris photos taken again, like in 2016. And I saw a mark on my left ankle spot on the iris that wasn't there on my earlier iris photos. So that's evidence that the iris changes due to trauma. So the trauma that I endured on my left ankle was picked up by my iris. And that's kind of how iridology began. I think the person, and I forget his name, it's in Bernard Jensen's book though, but there was this guy that there was some kind of bird, maybe an owl, I can't remember, but he was looking at the bird's eye and the bird had injured its leg and he saw a little spot. And so he started mapping the iris. Anyway, that's, stuff that happens. All right, it's about 7:20 and I do need to wrap things up. I've got a cat that is scratching the heck out of my leg right now because he's demanding that I pet him. My animals are very pushy. Son, honey, and this is the cat that gives me fur. I don't know if you can see that. It's like fur all over the place. This is why I'm single, folks, because I have animals that just manipulate me that I love so much. But anyway, I will see you all next week if I'm not kicked off of YouTube. Hopefully I won't be. I think I was mostly good. And yeah, if I'm not on YouTube, look for me on Facebook. I'm still trying to figure out how to multitask on multiple platforms. One of these days I will take the time to figure that out. But thank you all for joining me today. And it's been lovely. And I will see you all next Friday, one way or the other.